I should play Yakuza.
So I've played every Yakuza game, or I've played all 8 mainline games. I've played 0 through 7. Um, and I have some thoughts. So I'm gonna go through the games in order. So spoilers ahead, but I'll call out beforehand so you can know, like, oh, I didn't finish this game. Just stop watching or skip. Go play Yakuza. They're on sale. They're always on sale. Yakuza 0, the first game you should play, in my opinion. I think I'm correct. Really, really good game. Definitely like S tier Yakuza game. I think that the way that it introduces uh, the characters, specifically, Kiryu and Majima, and then every character that is important to Yakuza 1, basically, that is not well enough explained within Yakuza 1, is great. And the story itself of Yakuza 0 is, like, just so fucking good. You're on such a wild ride from start to finish. It's like, oh, what's this murder in the empty lot going on about? What's this, like, why do I have to kill this girl? What's going on here? Who the hell is Tachibana? What's Oda's deal? And then everything, like, goes down and you're crying suddenly, and Nishitani's dead and you're like, ugh. I miss that guy. I miss him a lot. And, I mean, so story-wise, great. Character-wise, great. I love Nishiki, I love Kiryu, I love Majima, I love Makoto. All of the characters are just, like, incredible. Gameplay-wise, it's as a first game, it's good. But after playing, like, all of the other games, I kind of look back at it and go, oh, there's some things that could have been better. Like, Majima, 2 of his styles are just, in casual play, just insanely overpowered. Breaker, stupid good, and Slugger, the fact that you can just stunlock enemies. It's like, okay, every boss is a joke now. I've realized that I did the entire storyline of the cabaret and the business management for Kiryu. Beating the final boss with Mad Dog was harder than beating the final boss with Slugger, which is a thing, I guess. It makes Mad Dog feel like not the best reward for completing the whole story, the whole 5 stars storyline in the Cabaret Club and all that. On Kiryu, Legend style feels a lot more like good because it's just a better brawler, basically, and brawler's already pretty good. Although it's missing, like, key components of the fighting style. But you don't realize that when you're playing 0 because it's your first time in Dragon. But so Majima, Thug is pretty good too. I never did it that much because you can just go silly mode on people, for lack of a better way to put it. And then, as I said, Mad Dog is a little bit underwhelming. It's funny to be able to just kill people, but, like, you can do that in the other styles too, so, like, eh. Kiryu, Brawler, it's Brawler. It's like, what if instead of Dragon going straight, you went like that? It's good. Beast is okay. It's good, but it's so slow. It's so slow. And then Rush just doesn't do enough damage, and they're all very, like, case by case. They're good, but it never feels like, I like the style, like, you need the style swapping in that game, because if you were just limited to one of those, it just would not be a great time. Gameplay wise though, it's fucking good. The bosses are fun. It's just a fun game. It's good. 10, not 10 out of 10. 9 out of 10. I cried. What else can you say? Yakuza 1, or Yakuza Kiwami 1, I should say. I did not play the original PS2 games of Yakuza 1 or 2 because I didn't want to.
Hang on, I just gotta move the camera. I didn't play this one, so I gotta leave. So just holler when you're done.
Okay. So Yakuza Kiwami 1. It's good. It's really, really good. Another game that made me cry. So story-wise, so enjoyable. Although you can really feel the difference between the 2005 Yakuza 1 and then the remake Kiwami 1 storylines, and they really just don't mesh a lot of the time. Like, the Majima Everywhere, which I'll get into later, is so out of place with the rest of the game. It makes it both, like, the best and worst part of that game. But, so the story, you need to have played Yakuza 0 to really get the most out of Yakuza 1. It doesn't feel like you can play Kiwami 1 and understand what's happening unless you've played 0. Although, of course, back when the game came out in 2005, you didn't have 0, so you had to, that was your first introduction to the characters and to the world. But if you're just kind of thrown in on it, if you're just kind of thrown into the world of Yakuza 1, you're going to have so many questions and you're not going to understand so much of what's going on that you need Yakuza 0. So in my mind, I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, in my mind, Yakuza 1, Kiwami 1 is basically, like, the sequel to Yakuza 0 more than being its own game. Even though it very much is its own game, which is kind of a contradictory thought and feeling, but it is how it is the best way to put it. But yeah, so character-wise, I think it's really funny that they introduce all the characters in 0, and every character that survives 0, where you're like, wow, I can't wait to see what this character is going to be like in the rest of the series, they die. They're going to die. Like, the first thing that happens is that Nishiki kills Dojima, and then Sarah dies, and then it's just kind of like all downhill from there. Love Haruka. I did max out Haruka's requests. Don't recommend doing that, really. You don't, there's like no real reason to, unless you want her to like you, which is why I did it. But love Haruka. Love the story of 1. It is messy, it's stupid, it's over the top, and it is sad. That ending is sad. Kiryu truly has, like, by the end of that game, you truly feel like he has nothing left. Like, the only people that he has left are Date, Haruka, Majima, but, like, at that point, Majima's like a frenemy at this point. Who else? I guess he has, like, Yuya and Kazuki from Stardust, but I'm not really gonna count them. Anyway, he has no one. And that really is the, like, feeling that pushes him into, like, the later games. This feeling of, like, he has lost everyone in his past, and he does not want that to happen again. I don't remember enough about the story to give, like, specifics about my thoughts on it, but I do remember, like, again, I cried at the ending. It's good. In terms of the combination of Yakuza 1 and Yakuza Kiwami 1, Majima Everywhere is, like, the most obvious place where those intersect and where they are, like, hugely at odds, because the Majima from Majima Everywhere is so different from the Majima in the main story, and very different from the Majima that you'll know if you just came off of Yakuza 0. But it's fun, so I forgive it. If it's funny, then it's good. And Majima Everywhere is funny. Until it isn't, though. Because you get to a point where you're just trying to, once you've, like, either capped out Majima Everywhere, or if you're looking for specific versions of him to get the skill points, like you have to fight everyone's idol, or you have to fight thug version of him, or things like that, you get to a point where it gets more annoying than it is fun. And you can run into him, like, 4 times trying to get from the beginning of a chapter to the end of a chapter when you're just trying to, like, go through it. And I think that is something that I wish you would have had the option, at least in the post game, to turn off, to be like, hey, Majima, can you stop for a little bit? I'm good. I have capped experience, and I don't really want to get in a 10-minute fight with you on the street while I'm trying to get to go, like, karaoke or something. I should talk about karaoke. So yeah, so Majima Everywhere is like, it's good, it's really good, it's the best part of that game, and it's the worst part of that game. Before you learn how to Tiger Drop, uh, oh, why am I forgetting? Breaker Majima is such a pain in the ass. But then once you learn to Tiger Drop, it's like the fastest one that you can beat because he always does the same like three combos. And I think it is really funny, like seeing like, oh, this is POV. I am a goon in the street in Yakuza 0 and I'm getting my ass handed to me by a thug or by slugger Majima. And again, seeing all his costumes is fun. Combat gameplay wise, oh my god, Dragon is so strong. Tiger Drop is so strong in that game. I never fully like mastered it. I think Yakuza 3 is when I really got like the hang of the Tiger Drop. So I know that like if I went back and replayed 1 now, I think it would be like way easier because I just know the timing and I would know what to do. And I think that is it feels like a very good reward from maxing out Majima Everywhere because you have to put like a lot of effort into that. His other 3 fighting styles, so Brawler, Beast, and Rush, all feel slightly different. I think better than they do in Zero. I think they're a little bit like, they feel like, if I remember correctly, Beast is like feels a little bit faster, Rush feels like it does more damage, and Brawler still mostly the same, but is, I just remember enjoying it more for some reason. Really, so yeah, I really like the combat of 1. I think the main thing that was keeping Kiwami 1 from being like a top tier game, I think it's like an A tier game. It's so good. The main thing that's keeping it back is the fact that the story shifts so rapidly from like just kind of okay writing to really good writing, just then back to just okay. Like all the Nishiki flashbacks, they like hurt you on the inside. And then you're going around like, oh, I've got to fight all the color gangs, and it's like, cool. Is there not something else we could be doing right now? It doesn't feel like it has the same level of polish in terms of the story as the later games will have. But at the same time, you go, okay, this was the very first game. It makes sense that it's not quite the same level. Hardest things in that game. Never beat Joe Wayman. Did all the sub-stories. Could not be bothered to beat him. Hardest thing in that game. Getting 950 on Haruka's karaoke song. That sucked. And that's my thoughts about karaoke for the time. I will come back to this. Those cheers are stuck in my head for all eternity. Next, Yakuza Kiwami 2. Good game. First game that you will play in the Dragon Engine. The better of the 2 Kiryu Dragon Engine games, by far. If I get to 6 has got its own share of problems. I really liked Kiwami 2. I don't know if it's divisive in general, but it's divisive within my friend group, so I feel the need to say that I really like it. I think it's a really good game. I think the story is very good. The biggest problem that I have with the story is that, I mean, if you know where the later games are going, you know the romance isn't going to go anywhere. You know Sayama is just, like, out of the picture by 3. And that really puts a damper on the relationship between her and Kiryu. And while I think that the growing romance between them and the inevitable reason why they break up are, like, very realistic, or not, maybe not realistic. The reason they break up is very realistic. But while I liked the story, knowing that it would end and that she would just never be seen again really puts a damper on things. Really like the story of it. I love that it opens with Terada going, I'm going to kill myself in front of you, changing the course of your life and friendships forever. Your lives and friendships forever. Cool. Thanks. I love Daigo. I think he's really funny. Just a little guy. His big coat. Ryuji is still, I think, to the end, one of my favorite final bosses. I think that the fact that by that point you both have matching injuries, you're both the dragons. It's like the Zero fight again, where you're both the dragons. I didn't talk about Shibusawa or Kusei at all. Anyway, I think that final fight is so good. And then the only thing that really puts a damper on it is that Kiryu's like, we're both gonna die. Let's make out. Because it just feels very different from where you know that his personality is coming from and where it's going to go. Where in basically every game following this, he's going to refer to his one true love, who was Yumi, and like never mention Sayama again. And you just kind of like go like, okay. It's nice in the moment, but it kind of sucks looking forward. Gameplay-wise, I liked the Dragon Engine. I liked combat in the Dragon Engine. It's a lot simpler. It feels a lot easier. You're down to just one style. And of course, there's like the ragdolls in the Dragon Engine and stuff, which not everyone's cup of tea. I don't really remember having problems with it. That might also just be that like 6 is more prominently in my mind right now, and I'm gonna talk about it later. Did not really like the combat in 6, and Kiwami 2 really feels like it cleaned it up and made it better. What I'll say is that the Dragon Engine changing how your inventory worked definitely like took away a lot of the challenge of the games, because you could just carry as many items as you could carry like 10 of every item, and that's a lot. And like you will just never die, you'll never struggle for resources. I liked the emphasis on using weapons in that game. It felt good. It added like a little bit of different things that you could do, because you could just pick up weapons and then store them away for later, which was something that I wish that they would do in later games. It did mean though that I beat Joe Wayman in Kiwami 2, and the way I did it was I just took like a full inventory of weapons and I just heat actioned him over and over again, and wasn't fun. I'm not sure. It was a fight. It was the first Joe Wayman I beat. I don't know. It was funny to beat him. I was happy to win. Sorry. Overall, I really liked Kiwami 2. I fluctuate with whether or not I think that if I liked it more. I'm not gonna say if it's better. If I liked it more than Kiwami 1 or not. I think the fact that they are on different engines make them very different games. But I liked Kiwami 2. Although the leveling up system is not great, I didn't really enjoy the Dragon Engine leveling system, where like you're incentivized to just eat food basically, because you just end up, it feels like getting in fights is not worth anything, because you're just going to get all your experience through eating at like that one place with a crab in front of it in Sotenbori. I looked up a guide in the end game, and it was like, yeah, you just go between these 2 locations in Sotenbori and you can get like a ton of experience really fast. And I was like, okay, I don't have to get in fights anymore. And in fact, getting in fights feels like more of a waste of time, because they're not very long and I'm not getting enough out of them. Which is an ongoing problem in the games, because now we're going to talk about Yakuza 3, which has the worst leveling up system. I'm slowly dying through this video. Yakuza 3, I love bad games. I really like Yakuza 3. I love bad games. It's so... The minute you open it from Kiwami 2 and you see what Kiryu looks like, and you see how he runs, and you hear the game, I was like, oh my god, I'm playing a PS3 game. This goes hard. I don't fucking remember half of the plot of 3. This is a consistent thing through, like, the first 1, 2, and 3, where I just don't remember much about them. But I feel like it's because in 3, biggest flaw with the story is that at one point they just go, okay, Kiryu, sit down. This senator's guy has 3 prompts in front of him, and he's gonna explain the whole plot to you. Cool. This is great storytelling, guys. I'm definitely going to retain all of this stuff about the secret American military arms base and all of that stuff. I don't fucking remember anything. Literally all I remember about Yakuza 3 is that the plot happens because Daigo gets put in a coma and Mine can't get dicked down for like 2 weeks and he fucking loses his mind. Like, that is the consistent thread of post Yakuza 2 games. It's that Daigo's dick game is keeping the Tojo clan together, and I think that's really funny because shit keeps happening to Daigo, and everything gets fucked because of that. Big Mine fan. I think he's funny. There's not really much else to say. It was the first final boss where I felt like tiger dropping was a good answer because combat, I'll get to that, combat is so, like, annoying is the best way to put it in that game. But tiger dropping felt pretty good because it did a good chunk of damage, but it wasn't incredibly overpowered like it was in Kiwami 1. Oh, speaking of tiger dropping, love that you learn the tiger drop from beating up a fucking Smile Burger employee. Kiryu loves minimum wage workers. I only remember the randomest things about these games. But that really stuck with me. Komaki just going like, okay, find my 3 pupils. They are working minimum wage jobs. You should go fight them to remember your skills. And one of them literally just works at Smile Burger and you learn Tiger Drop from him. Cool. Love that. It's great. Best part about Yakuza 3 story, though, by far, the opening section in Okinawa. Getting to see Kiryu's life at the orphanage, Kiryu, like, getting to spend time with his kids is so great, and I think that's really what makes the game. I love Rikia. He is, like, he was taken from us too soon. I remember clearly going like, oh, he's not gonna die. He has sub-stories. He's got these 2 sub-stories. You can still, like, if you play Premium Adventure, you can, like, bring him around town with you. How? Anyway, that's enough about the story. So, in basically, conclusion about the story, really like the Okinawa part, think the ending's really funny. The middle is just, like, a blur. There's that weird guy who's, like, he forcibly massages women, so he was sent to jail over it, and I did not like that. Combat. It's bad. There's no other way to put it, really. It's like, Yakuza 3 just has the weakest combat in the series. You build heat so slowly, you lose heat so fast. Enemies block constantly. You just kind of are in this stalemate of, like, I can win this fight. It's just going to take me, like, 20 minutes. The second to last boss, the guy that was fucking the American guy with the guns. I used all my healing items on him. Hated that guy. People hate Jingu. That was my worst boss of the series. Not fun. Just kept shooting at me, and I was like, I'm running out of healing items. Teehee. But I did get the one heat action you learn from doing the IF7 versus Majima, where you light a cigarette and then you like flick the cigarette into somebody's eye, and you just need to be standing there and light the cigarette. I use that like a lot in the end game, because it turns out having just like a heat action you can do from standing is very good. I mean, there's not much else to say. They fucked up billiards pool in the remasters, so I gave up on doing Haruka's requests. Oh, I didn't mention I fulfilled all of Haruka's requests in Kiwami 2 as well. By the time I got to 3, she went, "Can you win at pool?" I said, "Yes." I said no, and I gave up. Just not worth it, not worth the time it would have taken me to beat it. I'm sure there's fixes, but I was like, I should move on. I beat every sub-story, and I eventually beat Joe Amon, but I actually did that after beating Yakuza 4. I was like, I should go back, and I want to go back and do that in 3. So, I don't, so many of the sub-stories in 3 are just, like, so short, and then it's, like, a shitty fight that you have to do. There's some good ones, there's some funny ones, but it's really not worth doing all of them. It's not worth dating all 10 of the girls. All I remember is that, like, half of them have just the most absurd daddy issues, and then one of them is, like, in one of them, Kiryu goes, "I think in my past life I was a gorilla." Cool. Okay. Yeah, and then the Joe Amon fight was pretty easy, if I remember correctly. I didn't have a hard time with him, at the very least. Did he have the laser in that one? He might have had the laser. Laser's funny. That's the first game where they introduced the bullfighting arena, I'm pretty sure. It's in 0, but in 1 you fight him in Theater Square. In 2, it's in the Millennium Tower. And then in 3, it was the bullfighting arena. Arikia died. Do I have any other thoughts about 3? Oh, the last game where you can just kind of go, oh, this is the final boss? Guess he's gonna die, because moving forward, they stopped doing that, which I'm kind of thankful for, because it adds more stakes, it feels like, because up till then, you just kind of go, oh, he's the final boss? Well, it's nice knowing you. You're gonna die! It works, but if the 4th time around, 3rd time around, you're just kind of like, eh. Other thoughts about 3. Shout out to Mine for being gay. I forgot to mention, shout out to Oda for being gay. It's about the only thing I can shout him out for, but God forbid he does anything. Any other thoughts about 3? I mean, I already said the fucking combat is bad. Karaoke in that game is fucked. It's so evil. It's so evil. Everything goes so fast, and you have to have, like, the full song memorized for it to work. To get even a decent score. There's some bangers, though. Not Kiryu's. Not Pure Love and Kamurocho. Kamurocho Lullaby is not a banger. Most of the Hostess songs are pretty good, though. Saturday Night Lovin'. Is it Raindrops from 3? I know it's in 4. I don't remember the other ones. Saturday Night Lovin' is a good song. Maybe I have bad taste. And also the Hostess training mode thing, not good. I'm glad that they got rid of that eventually, because it's just not very fun. But I think that about wraps up my thoughts on 3. 2009 was a rough year for Kiryu. Yakuza 4, good game. Love that Akiyama guy. I love a man who just goes, all right, I'm gonna go to bed. Yakuza 4, good game. I really like Yakuza 4. I think it's a lot of fun. I think there's certain things in the plot where you're like, what? And maybe the final bosses are like not the best, but like it's so much fun. Like your first time around trying to unravel the mystery by going through all 4 characters is such a blast. And that being the first time in the series that I know of that they had like all these different fighting styles is very cool. And I think that they were mostly successful in them. Akiyama is fun. He's just like he's fast. He's kicking. He's completely different from Kiryu. And it's just like it's a good time. Well, I guess I'm talking about the combat right now. So Akiyama, just fun. Saejima, yeah, very slow, but he has a lot of health to make up for it, so you don't feel like you're taking it as bad as like Beast was. But he does get better in 5, so looking back on it, it's a little bit like, ugh. But in the moment when I was playing through 4, I was like, okay, this is a fun style. I understand. I found like the 2 combos that were really good, and I just kind of used those through his whole section. Tanimura, honestly, maybe one of my favorite fighting styles in the series. I really like the going from your combo straight into a heat action. And I think that his heat actions are very fun. I love just arresting a guy. It's just like, okay, bye. Not my problem anymore. And then Kiryu he's Kiryu. It's like better Yakuza 3 Kiryu. We're slowly getting to the point of like the earlier games, the first games that I played. But he's fun. Story-wise, really like the story. I love how every character plays into the mystery that is going on, and then by the end you're like, oh, I see what I understand now. Which is, I guess, just how mysteries work, but I like that it is segmented, and that you follow each character in chunks. I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, I like the segmented version versus what they did in Yakuza 0, where they swapped every few chapters. I think that the segmented versions gave you a lot of time with each character to, like, get to know them, and that it worked. And something else that works is that they start with the easiest to play character, Akiyama, so by the time you get to the finale, doesn't matter if you've forgotten how to play as Akiyama, because he only has, like, he's very easy to play. You get the, like, 16 kick combo, you're good. That's the only thing you have to learn on him, and you just go all in on that. Character-wise, really love all of the characters that they introduce in 4. Akiyama, of course, fan favorite among horny people. Hana, I want her. Hana, I'm single, I'm free. I'm single, please text me back. Saejima, maybe like one of the best written characters in the series, in my opinion. His whole speech about like the weight of a life in the Colosseum and all of that sort of stuff is so well written and so well delivered. And his arc basically being that he has accepted this fate for himself, but like he does want to know the truth is great. Tanimura, my favorite idol boy. I called him T-Boy for a while because I could not remember his name. He's a very interesting character. I think I understand why they have not brought him back since, because his storyline just like ended, but at the same time, I think that the perspective that he had as like this the child like a child of Little Asia who became a corrupt cop, but he's only corrupt because he like uses that money to protect the people, like immigrants, illegal immigrants, and things like that, is a very interesting and like multifaceted perspective. And the way that you get to look into what the police and the detectives are like is and the corruption there is very interesting, because up until now you've only really had Date to speak for all of that, and he's been in and out of the police. Forgot to mention, love Date. He's funny. So yeah, Tanimura, great character. I understand why he doesn't come back, but at the same time, I do wish he would. I do very much wish that he would come back. I think it would be very fun to see him. And I think that his combat style would work. I think they could make it work in the Dragon Engine. Kiryu. It's Kiryu. What else do I say? So story-wise, I think it's really fun. I think that, like, being along with all of these characters and getting to meet them is great. And the thing that I really like about Yakuza 4 is the sub-stories, where each character has a sub-story chain that basically tells you more about their character that you learn about in the main story, but that is basically more elaborated on within these sub-stories. So for Akiyama, it's the young man who he's giving the loan to, who basically, like, learns, like, oh, I can't do everything by myself, or I'm not as smart as I think I am, and then, you know, is saved by Akiyama multiple times. For Saejima, it's the brother and sister that are trying to meet back up, which is, you know, parallels his story within the game of looking for his sister Yasuko. And then Tanimura had two, if I remember correctly. He had the one about finding out the mystery of who his parents were, and he had the one about the kids of Little Asia, and how, like, it's okay if you... I'm trying to remember. It's like, it's okay if you don't know who your parents are, or if you're, like... Because you have a family. They have a family already. And then for Kiryu, because you know who Kiryu is, all of his sub-stories were like, let's catch up with that guy making the instant ramen. Let's catch up with Yuya and Kazuya. What's his name? Kazuya? Yeah. Let's just catch up with all of these other people. Oh my god. The one couple from the sub-stories, where the girl is just, like, clearly baiting him on, and the guy is like, I'm gonna kill myself now. And she's like, no, don't kill yourself. You've got so much more money to give me. And he's like, really? She's like, yeah. And he's like, okay, I won't kill myself. I love them. There's something so wrong with them. They make me laugh so hard. Which is, like, I don't know if I should, but the fact that they were together for so long, I don't even remember if they were still together in 4. I think they were. I just remembered them now. They were, like, my favorite ongoing sub-story thing, by far. So yeah, so the sub-stories are, I think 4 had some of the best sub-stories in the series, because they had the silly ones, like they had the Saejima Kappa storyline, and they had the Akiyama dancing storyline, but at the same time, the sub-stories were also used to their most effective to, like, give you more insight on all of these new characters that they were introducing. So for me, 4 is, like, 4 was the... how do I put this? I really liked 4. I really, really like 4. It is in my top games in the series. If I actually rectify my previous statement a little bit, I think 0 was, like, an S tier game. Kiwami 1 and Kiwami 2 are, like, low A's to high B's. 3 is a C. 4 is a solid A. It's fun. And that's what games should be. And I like, before the final boss, my friend was like, who do you think the final bosses are gonna be? And I was like, is it Daigo? Is Daigo gonna show up? But, like, completely joking. And then he was there. And I was like, oh my god. It's Daigo. Very, very big day for Daigo fans everywhere. I think Akiyama should have ripped his pants off. Karaoke. I like karaoke in 4. Yeah. I like the duet. They should bring duets back. And not the rap one. I don't want more rapping. 5. The game that I beat and then went, I'm not touching this game, and I'm not touching a Yakuza game for the next month and a half because it made me feel so many ways. It's a good game. I think 5 is like up there with 0 among my favorites in the series, or like high A, low S tier. It is fun. The story is good. There's variety. There's emotion. There's drama. There's everything. I'm trying to think about ways to put into words how much this game ended up meaning to me. But I think I can think through that as I'm talking. But if I go through the characters again, Kiryu, I know he's broken in 5. I never engaged in that, but he's fun to play. Saejima. He is a fucking monster. Haruka. I love rhythm games, so I love playing as Haruka. I love doing all of the dance battles and all of the concerts and stuff like that. I think it was a very welcome change to the gameplay of other Yakuza games. It's fresh, it's fun. I wish there were harder difficulties, and I wish there was more rhythm game to the rhythm game, is kind of my thought. But at the same time, I understand that there's so much else going on in the game that it makes sense that they couldn't focus in on that. Akiyama. Torn between why is he here and yay, Akiyama! Because it doesn't really feel like he has any reason to be there other than to add a combat aspect to Haruka's section, which I don't really think it needed. I get, like, why in the narrative he's there, but at the same time, I feel like taking Akiyama out of Kamurocho is very strange, because he is Kamurocho's lifeline, and it very much feels like of all the characters, he is the most tied to Kamurocho. Shinada, he means the world to me. There's no other way to put it. I was going through some rough shit when I was playing Yakuza 5, and then I got to his section, and I was like, ooh, this is a bit too real for me right now. He means a lot to me. He's like a woman to me. That's the thing I need to think some more about before I talk more about. His combat-wise, though, I can say that he is interesting. I feel like there was a lot of potential there, and I don't know if it's that I didn't invest enough into his weapons, because I never really invested into the upgrade workshop, or if it's just that it was always a little bit awkward, but it never really felt like his fighting style fully made sense, because the weapons, at least that I had, didn't feel like they were doing enough damage, and his combos without weapons are very simple, although I like the tackling mechanic. Story-wise, I really like the individual stories. I think that the overarching story is a little bit weaker than each character's individual journey. I think that those are actually the most, the thing with the difference between 4 and 5, because I like 4 and 5 both a lot. The difference between 4 and 5 is that I think 4 has the stronger overarching mystery story, and 5 has the stronger interpersonal narrative and emotional narrative for each character. Because, it opens with, depressed Kiryu, and you don't know what happened, and you're trying to figure out what happened, and then it goes to Saejima back in prison. Time to break out again, this time with Baba. Love Baba. Then Haruka, and it's your first time getting to see, what Haruka's like as an adult, basically. She's not an adult, she's 15 or 16 in that game, but as a mostly realized human being. And it's the most you are going to get, an insight on how she has been raised has affected her. And, how much she's lost, both tangibly in terms of, her family and her childhood, and intangibly in terms of, she has kind of lost the ability to want things for herself. She is at this point where she's like, I mean, I'll just kind of do what people tell me to do because it'll make other people happy, and I just want other people to be happy. And it's like, well, what do you want? And that's like the main conflict for her, which I think is great. Akiyama, he's there. He's just kind of there, and then he does cool stuff. That's like the most that I remember about his storyline. And then Shinada. Storylines that make me cry when I think about them too hard. I know that he's probably not for everyone, but like he probably was not everybody's favorite, but this storyline of like thinking really like I have nobody, the only ties that I have are the tie like through money. It's like the ties to his debt collector. It's the ties to Milky, who he is like both buying the services of and also advertising the services of at the same time. So they are basically living in this like codependent monetary relationship. And like his storyline basically being like he thinks that is why they're with him, but no, there's so much more, is great. And the whole mystery of like, why are we following this fucking ex-baseball player? What does he have to do with, why is Daigo here? I love when Daigo showed up because beforehand I saw fan art of Daigo and Shinada, and I was like, okay, cool. And then I played it and I was like, oh, I get it. Daigo's gotta be written as gay on purpose. There's like, you can't really read him any other way, but that's neither here nor there. Yakuza 5, good game. Again, the ending, I think that the final bosses, I didn't talk that much about the final bosses before. Very quick run through. Versus Arai, good, felt built up from the start, fun. Versus Kido-chan, very funny. I like when he rips his shirt off and reveals that he's built as fuck. Good joke. Versus Daigo, I feel like that is a fight that I would enjoy more with retrospective after especially like 6. But it is a fight that needed to happen at some point. It just kind of felt like they needed to give Kiryu a boss, though. I'm not sure. And then versus the 50 armed guards and then the old man. Funny if you have the sacred wood armor, sucks otherwise. Yeah. Final fights of 5. Let's see if I can remember them all. I think it's Saejima versus Majima, which is fun. Majima can just make clones of himself, and I feel like we don't talk about that, like, ever. Akiyama versus just the fucking hordes, which is okay. I like, that is another reason why I'm like, I feel like taking Akiyama out of Kamurocho is very odd, because his whole thing is that he is like the defender of Kamurocho, and that is the identity that he kind of gets for himself by the end of 5, and like he had that before where he was like monetarily defending them, but like that very much cements him as like he is the defender of the people. He is the common man rising up against the all of these bad things within Kamurocho. Shinada versus Baba, it's an okay fight. I like kind of what it stands for. I like the cutscene that plays after it. That is the scene that I think about a lot, that makes me tear up. The fight itself, I think that it's just one of those things where it's unfortunately between two characters that don't interact, that have like never interacted before, so they don't really have like much to do with each other. But I love Shinada, so like I forgive it. Kiryu versus Aizawa, a fun fight. Not a big fan of Aizawa as a villain. I think that he kind of just, the heel turn is a little bit too close to the end, and you kind of go, shouldn't the florist have known about all of this? It doesn't make sense that he doesn't. But the fight itself is fucking cool. I've talked about it before with some friends, but like the fact that you are literally, Kiryu was dragging him out from the head of the Tojo clan's offices. Like he is on the chairman's seat, and he is dragging him out to the entrance to like be like, you don't this is not yours, you don't belong here. And then the fact that Kiryu after the fight, you know, goes out and bleeds out. So TLD, like the kind of like summary of the final fights is like, I think on a literal level, they're all just kind of okay. They're kind of weak in the grand scheme of things, but on an emotional level, I think that they all hit a good, like, beat. Yeah, Yakuza 5, I'm like really struggling to put this one into words because it's good. But I feel like if whether or not you like it, and like where where other people will place it on their tier list very much depends on like the point in your life that you're at, how much you resonate with the characters. Like that's a big thing, because it is a lot more focused on like the interpersonal and emotional side of things than like making a cohesive story is kind of the best way I can put it. But yeah, I like it a lot. So that's like I think my third favorite Yakuza game. Yakuza 6 now. Great game if you have fucking fatherless behavior. Not that I have fatherless behavior. I did not like 6 very much. I struggled with it. I think that the combat is one of the weakest in the series. I don't know if it's worse than 3, but it's like the first foray into the Dragon Engine is just rough. Having nothing that you can do for crowd control, and they constantly put crowds in your way, really sucks. So I think it's less of a problem with the combat and more a problem with the actual game design. Another thing is that you can't pick up weapons. All weapons break in 3 shots, and you cannot carry weapons with you, which makes managing crowds even that much worse. And then it's just this like compounding issue. So gameplay-wise, I think it is like one of the weakest. It's not fun, and that sucks. I did not even talk about side stories in 5. Whatever. They're mostly good. They're fun. So combat in 6, very weak. The story, a little bit hit or miss for me. There were certain parts that I was a lot more invested in than others, like figuring out Haruto's dad, all of that sort of stuff. I kind of guessed it, but it's like, that is, I think, more interesting, and Yuta's like thing with his biological father and then his adoptive father as Beat Takeshi. Beat Takeshi's in my game. I think he was like one of the most interesting characters. Was a lot more interesting than the like grander political stuff going on. I think that the political stuff was like a little bit not boring. It's just kind of okay. It was like Yakuza 6 was the game that felt like it was redoing a lot of things that had been done in previous games and doing it just slightly less well, for lack of a better way of putting it. If Yakuza 5 is like the most Yakuza game, Yakuza 6 is trying to be another very Yakuza game and just falling slightly short of it. It's fine. It's like they've kind of just it has a lot of the same things that I think about Yakuza 3. It's about at the same level, honestly. That I think I like 3 more though, which is kind of, I don't know how popular of an opinion that is, but I think I like 3 more because I like spending time in Okinawa with the kids. And while I liked Hiroshima enough, it didn't feel like there was that much to do. I only unlocked the bar talks and all that like way too late. So the whole time I was there, I was like, there's nothing to do here. If I want to like not do the main story, I basically have like sub stories, which fully voiced, but kind of hit or miss on whether or not they were entertaining. Clan Creator, which is more fun than Clan Creator in Kiwami 2, than Modular Construction in Kiwami 2. But still, like, not a great... It's a side thing. And I think that's it. Once you like realize that there is the bar talks and stuff, then you have karaoke and darts. But even that's not that much. And you're there for like a good chunk of the game. So it just does not feel like you have the same freedom that you had in previous games. Yakuza 6 is the game where I would recommend the most. Like, you could just watch someone play that or watch all the cutscenes and basically get the same experience as playing it. I don't think that there's much that is added by actually playing the game for yourself. Which is a little bit of a shame, I think. Yeah, basically summarizing my feelings about 6. Yakuza 7. Best game in the series. I know a lot of people start with 7. I would not recommend it, but I also understand that you don't necessarily want to play the previous 7 games beforehand, but I think that playing it without the context of all of the other games is going to leave you incredibly confused, and you're just not going to have as good of a time with it, which is a real shame, because it is like... that is such a good game, and I think that 7 is like the game that most deserves to be fully played and understood for what it is, with the full context of all of the other games. I love Ichiban so much, and I love every single party member so much, and that's crazy. I'm a big turn-based JRPG fan. Like, before playing the Yakuza games, I did not play any combat, like, you know, fighting games or any whatever beat 'em ups or anything like that. I really mainly played like turn-based JRPGs or JRPGs in general, but mostly turn-based. Hearing Ichiban go like, I love Dragon Quest, I want to be like the hero of Dragon Quest, I was like, oh my god, I love Dragon Quest. I just beat Dragon Quest 11. Ichiban would love Dragon Quest 11. I had a whole thought about Dragon Quest XI characters and Yakuza 7 characters, and I'm gonna pull out my phone and I'm gonna see if I can find it, because I definitely made some real points and not just bullshitting things for fun. Oh, here we go. Alright, I found it very easily. Here is me giving every Yakuza 7 party member a Dragon Quest XI counterpart. Ichiban. He's hero. He's 11. I don't feel like I need to explain this one. Nanba. I made this like significantly before beating the game for context. But I'll see if I still stand by these. Nanba is Eric. He's the first real party member you get, and he saves Ichiban's ass and is like, well, I'm ride or die with you now, which is basically what Eric's arc is in Dragon Quest, where he's like, bro, let me out of the sewer. I could change your life, man. We could go on these adventures, and we could have gay sex and all that. You can get gay married in Dragon Quest XI. You should play Dragon Quest XI. It's a good game. Okay. So I feel like similar. They don't play it all similarly, but I think that narratively they are similar characters. Adachi, I said, was Rab. Older guy, father figure, kind of, had some shit going on with the everything pervert. I think that was the big thing, because Adachi's like, let's go watch porn together, Kasuga, and Rob is like, I got this porn magazine. It's like, cool, thank you, Peepaw, great talk. Psycho, Veronica. This one, if you've played Dragon Quest XI, I feel like you can understand where I'm coming from. They're the rude one. They're the one who's always fighting with Psycho and Nanba have their playful dynamic, and Veronica and Eric have their like fighting dynamic, which is very funny. Um, and they do damage. They do like good damage. I know that most people put Psycho and Idol. I put Psycho and Idol, but like her base job is just like boxer size and thwapping people with a bag, which is very fun. And then if you put her on Matriarch, she gets a fucking gun. The DLC jobs are funny. I did not change jobs enough while I was playing 7. Eri is Serena. She's just like kind of a regular person who sometimes snaps. And that's both of them. I feel like Serena would love to have a pet chicken, and I feel like Eri would love to play the harp for her friends. That's what Serena does. This is when it gets funny. Jungi-han is Jade. I love Jungi-han 7. Jungi-han, my boy. I love all of the table talks where he's like, did you guys say my name? And they're like, no, we didn't say your name. And then he just like stops talking. It's gonna be okay. He's like, this one is like gameplay and also just like they're the like cool one. Like Jade is very cool and Jungi-han is like very much, I'm gonna say putting on, like he's trying very hard to be cool. Makes sense to me at least. If you guys could see inside my brain, it would make sense. Zhao I put as Hendrik. I don't know if I stand by that one, but I also don't think he's Sylvando. I don't think anyone's Sylvando, to be fair. Hendrik is the character that you get in Act 2 of Dragon Quest XI. This is a spoiler, but like, no one's watching this fucking video. And he basically like, he starts out as your enemy and he's like hunting you down, and then he turns and he's like, oh, I've realized that actually you're the good guy and I'm gonna help you. And that's kind of similar to what Zhao's arc is. Although Zhao is a lot more like funny about it. He's just funny. So nobody's Sylvando because nobody has that much swag. I'm sorry. Maybe one day. And nobody's like silly like that. Sylvando's like a clown and a performer, and yeah, nobody really matches up to that kind of energy. Anyway, 7's a good game. I'm like not talking about it because it's just like it's a good game and I don't really have anything else to say about it. I mean I have a lot to say about it. It is my favorite Yakuza game. Basically all of my problems boil down to this is their first attempt at a JRPG and at a turn-based JRPG and you can feel it. Like grinding, especially in the end game, is just not fun. Like you have to find the metal slime guys, the something vagabonds, and they are like the only source of decent experience that you are going to get. Then things like job swapping, which it doesn't feel like it's worth swapping jobs when you're going through the story that much, because even though it is very helpful, it feels like you should be investing your time into specific jobs. Like Jungi-han and Zhao, I never swapped off of their base jobs. Nanba I experimented a little bit more with, but by the end I put him back on Homeless Guy. I was told to put Adachi on Enforcer and Psycho on Idol, so I did those, and I kind of wish I hadn't. But also, I was glad to have a designated healer, so it's, like, good. And then Ichiban, you're just not gonna swap off of Hero. He's just good, is the thing. Like, the only time that I only started swapping the jobs around when I was thinking about doing post-game stuff. I did Final Millennium Tower. I did not do true Final Millennium Tower. Oh, I should mention, I beat Eamon in 6, but not 5, because 5 I stopped doing all the side stuff for, because I was like, I don't want to keep playing this game, it's going to make me cry if I think too hard about it, so I didn't bother. 6, I did not like the Joe Wayman fight in. It's just kind of the culmination of like the gameplay is not very fun. 7, so I did the first Joe Wayman fight, and it's good. I liked the combat, but basically when I was training for that, when I was leveling for that, I swapped everyone to different jobs to get them, different stuff. And it's a shame because I think that playing like on all the different jobs is very fun, but you kind of don't feel like you have a reason to in the main game. I don't really think I have much to say about 7 that probably hasn't been said like a million times before. I love Ichiban so much. He's like a brother to me. Like, Kiryu, by the end of his saga, I was like, this man raised me. He didn't, but it felt like he did. Ichiban is like, this is my best friend, Ichiban. He is the sunshine of my life. And I think that he is a great protagonist, and I'm really hopeful that, Like a Dragon 8 will be, 90% about him, or, mostly about him, more so than about Kiryu, because, God forbid Kiryu gets a break. Christ. Like, how old is he? Okay, I can count this. He's born in 68, and 8 is gonna take place in like probably 2023, or 2024. So 60? No, not 60. He's getting there. He's getting to 60. I'm too lazy to do the math. I don't want to talk about why I know his. Anyway. The thing that I like about 7 that I think is so good is that it does what I think that all good RPGs like with parties should do, which is that it makes you care about all of your party members, and it makes you truly believe that they are like friends with each other, which is like, I'm going to talk about Dragon Quest 11 again. That's what Dragon Quest 11 does so well. You really believe like all these people are friends. All of these people are my friend. They have a reason for traveling around with me, and like they have their own storylines and their own stuff that they want to do, but they are also like, here for me. And like in 11 you kind of get that through both individual stories with each character, and also you can pause at any time and party talk with them, which is great. Love that feature. With 7, having the rank ups is great. I really like that. Then having karaoke be an event where everyone is cheering someone on is really fun, because it really it's like, yay, we're all friends. And then also things like the table talks and the random street chats are so just like charming and add so much personality to the game. Just like seeing one of those pop up, I would get so excited. I'd be like, oh, I can't do anything for the next minute because I want to see what everyone's gonna say. And it makes the whole thing feel a lot more realistic and a lot more like just hanging out with your friends. Yeah, when Majima shows up and it shows his shoes and then his song starts playing, I lost my fucking mind. And then when Kiryu shows up, and then when you fight Kiryu, and the final boss, and then the final post boss where you're just beating a guy up with your fists, it's so good. Fucking good game series. So yeah, I haven't played Judgment or Lost Judgment because finals are kicking my ass. And also they only just went on sale. And I mean I bought them, but I didn't want to buy them full price. I don't like buying games full price. Don't buy games full price. Unless you want to. But I hear they're good. I kind of wanted to play Dead Souls, though. Not gonna lie. I love bad games. Anyway. I've been Schroeder. It's me, Schroeder. I'm gonna leave.
You did it. You made a Schroeder YouTube video. You did it. Thank you guys for watching.